Hey everyone, how you doing? This is Amon Green, Green Bay Packers all-time leading rusher, and you're watching Packers Total Access Live, your daily source for Packer content. Go Pack, go!
What's up, guys? Welcome into Packers Total Access. My name is Clayton. You can check us out on packernet.com. Find me on Twitter at Packers_access. I don't know how we go an hour and 20 on the regular, and it's never more chaotic in that hour 20 than the 10 seconds before we go live every single time. We got Jacob joining us from Wisconsin. We got Tim in Green Bay. How we doing, fellas?
Wonderful. I don't know about you, Tim, but it was another beautiful day in Wisconsin.
It was. I was laying out.
Racking up quite a few of them.
I was in the front yard like this guy today, man.
Just playing out in the sun, Tim.
Beautiful.
All right. I got you out there sunbathing a little bit.
Yeah, touch grass, right? Touch grass. That's what they say.
That is what the kids say, right? Not smoke grass, Jacob. Touch grass is what they're saying. All right.
I don't do either. I don't touch it. I don't smoke it. I don't
Had a kid.
cut it.
Pillar of the community. You smoke it, you end up like that. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
You watch yourself. So.
All right. Can I just randomly pop into the chat? I don't know, Greg. This came out of nowhere. I'm into medieval stuff. My employer sells a lot of swords and knives and other stuff. I'm guessing that's out of context, but good to know, Greg.
Yeah.
Good to know.
Greg also said my girlfriend told me I needed to join Patreon. What's the URL? Now I do not want to scan the QR code. Get off my lawn. All right. So go to patreon.com/Packer Fan Total Access. All right. And yeah. $3 tier, you get access to everything. You're good to go. Matter of fact, we're going to lead the show off with some Patreon questions here. Andy Monday in the Patreon group said, it's pathetic how negative fans judge the decisions about which positional group Goody drafted. So let's review. Goody drafted wide receivers and O-linemen, even though we already had a full room of those. But what's the other option? Let so many players at a certain position walk or cut so many that this position's so shorthanded that you have to draft those positions. That's bad strategy too. It's a great point. Yep. And I think that Goody's draft strategy, to me, guys, he's looking forward, right? He's looking at Romeo Doubs probably not being here next year. And we're going to talk about an update we got on him. He was also, I think, not just Romeo Doubs, but there's going to be questions around Christian Watson when he comes back. Yep. I hope this is not the case, but there's a chance Christian Watson isn't the same player he was before the ACL. Now, I feel like there's way, way, way more evidence of players coming back faster and stronger from ACLs that are under the age of, 28, whatever, 27. The closer you get to 30, it seems like you don't recover as quick, but or it maybe not get back to that full speed, that burst that he had. But anything you guys want to add to what Andy had to say here?
I think it's clear, like you said, he wants to look forward, and he's looking at salary cap security and what it's going to mean necessarily in the next season and two, and how that looks in the depth chart. And Goody's like me, man. He don't want to pay nobody top dollar if he doesn't have to. He'd rather be, circling that bargain bin and maybe giving out contracts even a year early type thing. Try to catch them before they really hit their big break. He's been known to try finagle stuff like that. I think it's smart. It's business first, and it sucks because you guys know how much as Packer fans we love our guys, especially if you're like me. I love my late round guys, my UDFAs, guys that are loyal to the team and to the city. And it sucks that I'd be a terrible GM because I would leave every single one of these guys on until they're limping and old and gray in the tooth. You know what I mean? And we'd be an idiot for it.
No, I agree. I agree with Andy's sentiment too here. Like these fans that are like, we already have a full room of these guys. Why are we bringing more in? It's like, well, would you rather run out of bodies when you grind through a season and guys are hurt? So I agree with the strategy. I'm a Goody stan. It's no secret, right? Anyone that's watched this show more than once knows that I'm a Goody fan. So I agree, man. The best time to take a guy is when you don't need one. And, we hear a lot of criticism from fans about moves in free agency, not just the draft, but free agency or lack thereof, or, we signed guys in free agency, but they weren't the guys that I wanted. This kind of narrative from some of the fan base. Look at a lot of the teams in the NFL, man. If you're sitting here chomping at the bit to sign aging free agents left and right to rebuild your team, you're not doing so hot, And I just agree. I think it is kind of pathetic, like Andy says here, that the negative part of the fan base, which is not the majority, it's the loud minority of the fan base.
Right.
They judge these decisions based on positional groups, and it's crazy. You're looking at your roster and how to build a Super Bowl caliber team, and sometimes that means cutting and running early from guys. Sometimes it means bringing in guys that maybe you think you already have depth at that position group. We heard Emilio talk a lot about running back during this draft preparation that we did, and should we take a running back? A lot of us felt like we were pretty deep in the running back room. Doesn't mean you don't bring more guys in. We saw that with the UDFA signing. You keep depth at position groups across the board. It's not about picking and choosing, wide receivers versus O-line versus D-line versus stack backer or whatever. So I totally agree with Andy. I think it's kind of pathetic.
Yeah, and for me, I don't know, man. It's when it comes to Goody, I think the big thing that sticks out to me is like you've either got people who, and I love what Ryan said, right? It's goot liquor. You've either got people who love him or they hate him, and it's very rare you find people that are kind of in between. And honestly, I feel like Ryan has got more into the in between now. And you correct me if I'm wrong in the chat, Ryan. Before he was very, hey, Goody's the dude, right? And he's, brung up on his podcast that, hey, man, this year, we gotta do something. We gotta start to take that next step, and that's kind of where I'm at. The one thing that Goody is good at is finding young talent and putting a competitive roster together that's extremely young. But the reality is we haven't made it to the Super Bowl under Goody, right? And listen, if that's the bar you set for your GM, I don't know if there's a higher bar to set. Some would say that's unrealistic expectations. Just he better get to the Super Bowl, although I think all 32 teams look at it that way. But it's getting back to at least that NFC Championship, right? Taking that next step. And I don't think you're going to do it with the youngest roster in the league. And I think he took a step in that direction this year. I mean, you look at the free agent signings he had, and I'm going to get to Ron's question here. With the Aaron Banks signing, you get a little bit older, right? Not crazy old, but a little bit older. Nate Hobbs signing, you get a little bit older. Mecole Hardman signing, if he makes the roster, 27 years old, I think, you get a little bit older. You're kind of pressing into that. All right, let's get some veteran presence in here while the rest of these guys are becoming veterans themselves. It's what we talked about last year, Tim. The window is opening. The window is open now. I feel like you've got a 3 to 5 year window unless Jordan Love takes a big step back, right? And that's why I'm like, I go into every season looking at the schedule, looking at the roster comparatively speaking to the year before, looking at where all the team rankings were, the important team rankings statistically. You go, okay, what's a realistic range here for win totals? And I can't wait to see the schedule and when and where we play everybody, right? Which will come out next week on the 14th. And we'll probably put a number on it. If I had to guess right now, I would say my number is probably going to be somewhere between 11 and 14 wins is where I'll be at. And if you finish with 10 wins and you miss the playoffs, then look, I'm not such a Goody lover that I'd say he's not on the hot seat. If you miss the playoffs after making that
playoffs, don't talk
that Jordan Love is your guy, it's going to get loud. It's going to get loud, especially if Jordan takes a step back. And it's not just Goody's fault if that happens. It would be, LaFleur would be involved there as well. The quarterback coach and Sean Mannion would be involved there as well. There's a lot of people that are going to be kind of, I don't want to say on the chopping block, but responsible for whether or not the team takes that next step. Now, a lot of things can go right. A lot of things can go wrong. Like Holmes says, 10 to 12 games. I think that's a fair assessment where we're at right now. Last year I said 10 to 13 and we finished with 11, right? So Ron Sample says, Clay, I get charged for Patreon, but my membership is gone. How do I figure it out? Thanks. I don't know what's going on there, Ron, because I'm looking at Patreon right now and it's showing, man, you did the $5 tier and Yeah, $5 per month is what it says. Your last charge date was May the 1st, so you got charged on the 1st. Is it giving you, probably not the conversation we need to have on the air here. You can't shoot me a DM. Shoot me a text, 865-658-5824, and we'll work through it, whatever we need to do. We may need to create a new account. Looks like you created a new account, a free account, so just make sure you're logged into the right one. And just so you know, the one it's showing is well, I don't want to give away that email. That might be somewhat private. Ron at BUG, and we'll leave it at that, okay? And it's got, I don't want to read that out loud. It's nothing bad. You know, you're like, whoa, Ron, what's that, his OnlyFans account? No, it's not nothing like that, okay? It's not at onlyfans.com there. So we'll figure it out, though, Ron. Whatever I got to do, if I got to refund you money and let's start a new account or whatever, I don't know what's going on there. I don't know if it's sending an error message or not. So
it's probably a login issue would be my guess, right?
I'm sure that's what it is. I promise you, we'll get it straightened out, Ron. Text me if you don't care. That's the best way to get a hold of me, is that 865-658-5824. I see you tried to email last night. I got so much spam in that email thing. It's amazing how people want to get involved, advertising and everything, and then when you get on the phone with them, it turns into you supporting their business somehow. It's like, okay, here we go. I'm not Michael Scott here. I don't need to get involved in any kind of pyramid schemes, right? We're good here. I promise. So anyway, let's move on to the next question here, as we're already falling behind. This thing went off the rails quick. Can you? This is is that CJ? No, that's still Andy Money, right? Can you talk about how the Packers may have sniped Golden from the Lions? Apparently, they only had 2 wide receiver visits. That was Golden and Tesla. They exercised a 5th-year option on Jameson Williams the morning after we took Golden, and then they traded 3 picks to go up to 70 for Tesla. I guess you could look at it that way. You could look at it that way, like we might have, kind of sniped him away, snap Matthew Golden away from the Lions. But I look at the draft a lot different, Andy. Those top 30 visits, they just call them 30 visits now because they're not really top 30. It's not like they're the top 30 prospects, right? It could have been something that they didn't like something about Matthew Golden, and they got the information they needed to go, hey, he ain't our dude, right? And they might have been planning on trading up to get him. But I understand where you're coming from there too, that the fact that he was a top 30 and the Packers took him before the Lions could take him. That makes sense. So, let's see here. Pack Daddy says, you know what? When the son of the deposed king of Nigeria emails you directly asking for help, you help. His father ran the freaking country. Okay? Very valid point there, Pack Daddy. Only Ryan can come up with that, man. Only Ryan.
Man, I love it.
All right. Moving along. Any chance you guys could get the Simpsons clip of Flanders telling Ralph Wiggum he'll play special teams, to which Ralph explains, I'm special? That'd be a great job for the pod. We do need the I'm special.
I love that. That's a good one.
Grew up watching The Simpsons. Loved The Simpsons for so long, and now I turn it on. I just can't get into it. Something's changed. Dave Colvin gets us back on track, though, and says, does this Pickens trade to the Cowboys open up the thought of trading Doubs to the Steelers for draft compensation? Packers were already shopping him at least once this offseason. Our wide receiver room is very crowded right now. It's funny you bring that up, Dave, and thanks to everybody in the Patreon group for the questions. We actually put a little article together. You and I were thinking the same thing earlier today as I put this together about Romeo Doubs. If I can find it, we'll just jump right into it. So the Steelers –
I just caught the ball.
Steelers are inquiring about Packers wide receiver Romeo Doubs, or at least they have, okay? A Rodgers reunion on the horizon, ? All right, so here is basically the tweet that went out earlier today. It says, the NFL trade rumor mill is buzzing. The Green Bay Packers wide receiver Romeo Doubs at the center of speculation. On May 8, 2025, Andrew Filipponi of the Pony Express reported on X that the Pittsburgh Steelers have inquired about acquiring Doubs. This comes amid expectations that quarterback Aaron Rodgers, a free agent after leaving the New York Jets, will sign with the Steelers, potentially setting the stage for a reunion with Doubs. Now, look, I know a lot of people are trying to dunk on this guy and say it's not true. A lot of people were just saying that about Romeo Doubs potentially being involved in the trade for DK Metcalf as well, right? But he does have over 100,000 followers for what that's worth. Sounds like he covers the Steelers pretty extensively. It says, source, here's the tweet. The Steelers have inquired about Packers wide receiver Romeo Doubs. Green Bay drafted 2 wide receivers, and Aaron Rodgers played with Doubs in 2022. It's believed Rodgers likes Doubs. We'll see where this goes. And immediately people go, no, Rodgers hates Doubs. Rodgers never once said he hated Doubs. Rodgers actually said he liked Dobby. He referred to him as Dobby, the only person I heard call him Dobby, right? And then there's Romeo Doubs who made a comment that they didn't talk much, okay? And then Aaron Rodgers fired back after that on the McAfee show and said, we literally sat down and ate lunch together several times in the facility. So now I think we can
knowing Rome though, I mean, he doesn't talk much in general.
Yeah.
So it'd be real easy to not talk much, even though you're having lunch with a guy.
And Tim, Romeo he didn't come across when he made that comment like, man, I hate Rodgers. He never talks to me. It was just, he helped me a lot. I appreciate what he did here after he left, before he left. He's like, I appreciate what he did for me. We didn't really talk a whole lot though. It wasn't like we were real close. And immediately the media who hates Aaron Rodgers ran with that, like, man, he's a prick, Romeo Doubs. So anyway, that's what's fueling this latest thing. And I just want to say a couple weeks ago when we got rumors that he was a part of a potential trade offer to the Seahawks for DK Metcalf, guys, that was pretty much all but confirmed to come from Romeo's camp. So they leaked it out that they were shopping him to Seattle. So this is now 2 teams that he's being linked to being shopped to. And then you look at the wide receiver room, which we did a wide receiver room breakdown the other day on our 53-man outlook. And what did we come away with, Jacob? It was like somebody's got to go. And to me, it seems like Romeo Doubs last year of his contract. We'll get into some more of those details there as well. But on the surface, what do you think here? I mean, there's got to be a little fire to that smoke, right?
Well, it's interesting. So in addition to the Andrew Filippani guy, I was listening to the Athletics football podcast this morning, which means that they at least recorded it yesterday. So they were talking about how Doubs to Pittsburgh just makes sense. It just makes complete sense. And I don't remember if they said that this is based off of like rumors or hearsay, or if it just logically. I think they even went around saying, like, if any team in the NFL needs a wide receiver or they need a safety, you should call the Green Bay Packers. The first call you should make is the Green Bay Packers. And then they started talking about, what about, the possibility of them not liking Wicks, and then even trickled into Reed. And then they both were like, no, it's if all signs point to Romeo Doubs for just so many reasons. Yeah.
Elijah Gwynn says here, Tim, do we know who leaked this one, Rome's camp or Green Bay? I guarantee you Green Bay didn't leak it.
Yeah.
My guess is it's probably Rome's camp again. However, who knows? It could have been someone that Andrew Filippani has, inside the Pittsburgh.
Is he related to Karen Filippelli? No.
That voicemail, man.
Was her dad a GI?
Oh God!
Such a good show, man.
Yeah,
oh my God, it's so
classic. Good. But you know what though, like you're saying, Clay, like where there's smoke, there might be fire here, because like you can't tell me that. I mean, Rome playing in Pittsburgh doesn't make sense. I mean, it does. He seems like a Mike Tomlin type of dude, a Steelers type of dude, and we know that if they're courting Aaron Rodgers right now, trying to coax him off the ledge of retirement or whatever it is, we know Aaron likes his guys, right? I mean, look, he brought, half of the Green Bay Packers throwaways to the Jets with him. I could see that, this would be like a selling point to Aaron. Like if they can lock in a trade for Rome and, entice Aaron Rodgers to ultimately sign a contract, having a familiar face there. We already know Aaron has a great relationship with Mike Tomlin. That's no secret. So it looks like it makes sense for Aaron to go to the Steelers if he's going to play ball in 2025. And, looking at the contract here in Green Bay, looking at where we're at in our receiver room, might make sense to shop Rome. Now, I say that to say this. I'd hate to see him go. I've always loved Rome. I think he's a great receiver. But hey, like Jacob said, man, it's a business, and sometimes you got to set those feelings aside and do what makes the most sense. And honestly, if the trade compensation was right, we're talking like what, a 6th round pick maybe or something.
I heard him saying even a 4th.
Wow, that would be money. 4, 5, or 6th round pick, maybe even somebody else involved. Who knows? Right. I don't know. Rome gets to go play for a good team. Great for him. Like we love our guys. So, you want to root for a guy no matter what. But at the end of the day, what's best for the Packers might be to get away a year too soon rather than a year too late from a guy like Romeo Doubs if the trade makes sense. So I think there's a little smoke with the fire here. I don't know.
That's what Soder's asking is, can you get a 4 for Dobbs? I don't know if you could or not, because you always kind of look at the comps across the league. And what was it that George Pickens went to the Cowboys for a 3rd and they got back a 5th or something like that, right?
Yep.
So you got to kind of figure in that differential, and that's the true value. You break that down to what pick that was. The number I'm coming up with, Soder, is like a 6th. Is kind of how I look at it. But it could be more. It could. That's the other thing. Like, there were people in the Twitter mentions when I tweeted this out earlier that this guy had, put this on X, and it was like, man, they were saying he was the number 1 receiver on the Packers, and they were mad about it. I'm going, how can you say someone who didn't have the number 1 amount of target rate? I'm talking about even when he's healthy, right? It was Tay Wicks who was getting targeted the most, and then Jaden Reed 2nd, then Romeo Doubs 3rd, and the reality is, whether we agree with it or try to understand what kind of person Romeo Doubs is in terms of he's kind of an introvert, he was suspended for a game, and then he suffered 2 concussions, right? And that's something that comes into factor as well.
And he's entering the last year of his deal, right? Lot of signs pointing to him being on the block, right?
Yeah, I mean, to me, it makes a lot of sense. Now, listen, is there a chance that he would come back? Absolutely. There's a chance he could be back in Green Bay, just like there's a chance Jaire could be gone. Yep. But it's sounding more and more, as we're going to get into that next, that Jaire's probably going to return to the Green Bay Packers. So, I just think there's a lot that go into it. Now, when you look at the cap ramifications, this might surprise some people here. If you cut ties with Romeo Doubs pre-June 1, well, it's the same across the board. I apologize. But 2025 savings, $3.4 million. That's not chump change. And people go, okay, what? There ain't no players out there to spend that on. Correct. But you understand there's a thing called rollover with the salary cap. So what you don't spend gets rolled into next year. So if you move on from Romeo Doubs because your wide receiver room is full and you don't have room for him, and let's say you get a 6th-round pick and you free up $3.4 million that you roll into next year on top of whatever cap you got. I mean, we've been sitting here talking about how we can't afford to pay Rasheed Walker, and not that 3.4 would change that, but every dollar is going to help towards rolling to the future. Yep. And what it comes down to is Jaden Reed, Dontavion Wicks, right? Those are kind of your top 2 returning receivers, with Christian Watson being on IR. Obviously, Christian would be right there at the top as well. So Matthew Golden, in my opinion, soars right to the top, if not 2nd, right behind Jaden Reed. And then you got Savion Williams, who might potentially be better than Dontavion Wicks. You just got 2 guys that most likely would pass Romeo Doubs up at least by year 2 on the depth chart. And now you've gotten something for him and wrote a little cap over. So to me, it makes a lot of sense to move on from Rome. Don't get me wrong. I think he's a good receiver. I just don't see him as a true number 1 receiver. Like some people in my mentions, they blew my – I don't know why I always say that. Like I'm surprised that people on Twitter surprise me. But
what about Rome for TJ Watt straight up? No pick.
That sounds like a winner right there, don't it? That's the other thing. People immediately shifted to that. Like, hey, well, maybe we could throw in a pick and Rome and get TJ Watt. I don't like the idea of getting TJ Watt simply because, I mean, it's like, okay, if you do that, then what happens? LVN gets pushed to the back, right? And we don't truly get to see what we have there as a starter. Also, Baron Sorrell, that's going to stunt his growth. TJ Watt is going to cost a ton of money.
And block Cox.
Yeah, if I remember correctly, NFL Pro, and you guys know I choose NFL Pro over every analytic when it comes to pressure rate and stuff like that. I want to say TJ Watt finished at 10% pressure rate last year. Last I checked, that's where he was at, which that's what cracks me up is because Rashawn Gary finished at 13%, right? And that's not to say TJ Watt's a bad player, but he has battled injuries. And when he's on, he is the defensive player of the year in the NFL, like almost always right there in the top 3, right?
Yep.
But getting up there in age on 30, and we just talked about rolling $3.4 million in cap into next year. Well, if you bring on TJ Watt and he's eating up $25 million in cap, now you're in the net negative, right? So it's like, I'm not saying I would not want TJ Watt. I'm just simply saying it's not as big of a slam dunk as I think most people see it as. But anything else you want to add to this Romeo Doubs talk here, Jacob?
Nah, I mean, I don't know. I just to me, it just all signs are pointing to that's the most likely situation. No need to get back into it, but yeah, I think it's, if I had to put a percentage on it, I'd say 60-40 that he's not around.
Right. And it kind of feels like the Jaire conversation is flipped, where it's like 60-40. He'll be back now, right? It's amazing how it's changed all offseason. Chris the Casual Win says, you guys produce a quality show. Hey, not bad for a redneck and a couple Scotties, right? Not bad at all. Not bad at all.
I don't know. I'm not a doctor.
Ryan refers to himself as the resident fanalist, and I call myself the redneck fanalist. So
Love it.
There's no doubt about it. All right, let's get into some Jaire talk. Y'all ready for it? I know Tim's excited about this. So they had Peter Schrager on the Pat McAfee show earlier today. Tim, can you get me a screen grab ready, Tim, if you don't mind, sir?
Yes, sir.
You do the Jeff Halfley would be fine.
Let's go with Tupac and Shug here.
There you go.
Hey, Miss Green says we just got $1 million idea. Rednecks and Scotties would be a dope podcast.
Oh, yeah. I'm sure that would stay monetized on YouTube the entire time there, Mrs. Green. All right, so here was Peter Schrager on the Pat McAfee show talking about Jaire Alexander. Now, we've been kind of covering this every step of the way. You guys know supposedly some more information came out from, I believe it was Jeremy Fowler, but if anybody was paying attention, Rob Domofsky actually reported the same exact thing like a week ago, 5 days ago or whatever. Now, he caught a bunch of heat over it because they said he's backtracking on his original 99.5%. I'm not in those Twitter waters. I'm not on Twitter to argue with people that I've never met, which, by the way, can we just say something real quick? Isn't it hilarious that all those people that were arguing and ready to kill each other on Twitter all year long, we get up to the draft, everybody lost that energy quick, didn't they? Everybody just got along. It's hilarious. It's like that video where, you know what I'm talking about? It's got the two dogs and they're looking like they're going to kill each other, and they move the fence and they just calm down. And then all of a sudden the fence comes back. The fence comes back and they're ready to kill each other again. It's like, yeah, that was funny to me in Green Bay. And listen, nobody's going to Lambeau to start trouble, but it's just like, where's all those internet tough guys we dealt with all year long, man?
I'm too old for this, right on the money. Can't lose energy if you never had it.
Exactly. Anyway, but here was Peter Schrager. We had the privilege of meeting him at a steakhouse on Wednesday night when we got into Green Bay. Tim, you were there.
Man.
It was really, really cool. He's an awesome dude, man. Awesome dude. Like, you see some of these guys, Jacob, and you think, yeah, little media dude. I think Peter Schrager's like 6'3", 6'2", 6'3". He's a big old boy.
Yeah, no. Schrags could play tight end.
Yeah, no doubt. No doubt. So anyway, here's what Peter Schrager had to say about Jaire Alexander, and he actually had lunch with Matt LaFleur. Schrager did the week of the draft. Here we go.
Briggs, do you have any
I want to say this. Anything with the McAfee show, guys, earmuff it.
Earmuff.
I don't think there's language, but you know how this goes. There could be an F-bomb in here, so just be prepared.
On Jaire Alexander? It seemed like before the draft, it was kind of a foregone conclusion that the Packers were either going to trade him or cut him. And then as we've kind of progressed here, now they've reached some sort of resolution, allegedly, where maybe he's going to come back. But whatever it is, there will be some sort of announcement on him in the coming weeks. Do you have any update on that whatsoever? I know you talked to Matt LaFleur over draft week.
Yeah. I had a lovely dinner with Matt LaFleur during draft week in Green Bay, and I brought it up, and I don't think he'd mind me saying like, we're actually in a good place with Jaire. You know, obviously there was some stuff last year and the coin toss situation a couple of years back, and all that stuff is all head scratching stuff that it would drive a coach nuts when you're trying to run a disciplined program. But from what I gather, this thing is in a lot better place than what was being presented in the media, and that there is a place for Jaire Alexander in Green Bay. And I think he and Jeff Halfley actually have had a great relationship, and it's a different breed and it's a different time. And I don't know exactly how it nets itself out, but like when he was being listed as that number one trade target, I don't think that was coming from Green Bay. And if you know Goody at all, he wasn't leaking that to anybody. So that was a lot of outside noise, I believe. We'll see how it figures itself out, though.
You gave me a lot of information in that one sentence about the coin toss situation. Whenever you're trying to run a disciplined operation and accountability-driven operation, and you got guys just making themselves captain because he thinks you forgot where he was from on that spot. He didn't know. He just forgot, I think. Made himself captain. I would like to let you know, and you can tell LaFleur this the next time, and he probably has seen our reaction. We thought that was one of the most legendary moves in history, just naming yourself captain, and then afterwards being like,
You didn't like it.
no, I loved it. Now, if it was on a team I was on, I'd be like, that's wild that you did that. But just from outside looking in, that's one of the boldest, most hysterical things I've ever seen. And then afterward, just being like, I think you just forgot to make me a captain.
I'm from Charlotte.
Yeah.
You should know. Like, I'm from Charlotte.
I'm supposed to be the captain here. It's kind of how it works in the history of the NFL, which is a pretty accurate sentiment, too. If you don't have main captains and you have a rotating captain, if you have a starter or a leader on a team in their hometown, normally kind of given the nod to kind of represent the team at the coin toss, and Jaire just being like, yeah, I guess LaFleur just got caught up in some other things this week.
All right, so
took it down the sideline, turned over with my guys, gave the football to a little kid wearing 23.
This is just more confirmation. You can pull that down now, Tim. Thank you so much for that. But this is just more confirmation that, like, I don't know. It feels like Jaire is going to be back in Green Bay. It just makes sense. I mean, there's not another team that's going to go out and pay him a bunch of guaranteed money with the injury history here recently, and the fact that he did get suspended for a game, Jacob. All that stuff comes into play, right? So I think that what's probably going to happen here, in my opinion, they'll restructure the contract whether Jaire wants to or not. He's going to look up and go, my best offer is in Green Bay. And I could see them taking that base salary of whatever it is, $17 million, cutting it down to, let's say, $7 million, and then give him the ability to make all that back or maybe even more in incentives if he is healthy and actually playing in the games a certain amount of snaps. You know what I'm saying? But it does kind of feel like Jaire's going to be back, as you see him here with the baby goat. I just pulled together the most outrageous pictures of Jaire Alexander for this article, man. But what do you think?
Things could be a lot worse. I could be a Bears fan.
You think he's coming back, Jacob?
I do, yeah. Just for a number of the reasons you just listed, and also I think he wants to play ball, and I think that he knows the best shot he has is, like you said, coming back to Green Bay. And I would love it if they structured it and had incentive-based. I say this all the time. I don't get why more contracts aren't predominantly incentive-based to the point where if the guy balls out, he makes a lot of money, probably more than I'd be willing to pay him on just like a per contract basis. You know what I'm trying to say? So, like, I'd rather look at it year by year with these. I highlighted that. I thought that was pretty great. Just going, especially with the guy, like you said, that maybe is towards the end of his career, possible playing time in Green Bay, a guy that maybe wants to have a catalyst to go to another team and maybe have a career resurgence, a guy that wants to still be considered as one of the top, cornerbacks in the league. It really hasn't produced in the last 3 years, like the way that the reputation has been built around him. So I think it's a perfect time, especially if you come in and be like, dude, yeah, play more than 12 games, we'll give you this amount incentive bonus. Play more than 14 games, we'll give you this amount. Play more than 16. Hey, you get over 5 picks. Here's another, you know what I mean? Like, I don't know. I feel like it would just be fun if we could actually get a Jaire that is, right there, that is just old Jaire. It would be night and day for this defense.
Just here to tell you, Pack is back.
You heard it from a fan right here.
Perfect, nailed it. Yeah. So Tim, like when you look at the Jaire situation, there's going to be people that go, well, if he was going to be back, he'd already be back. No, he was testing the waters, right? Yep. Like, hey, is there a better deal for me out there somewhere? Is someone willing to trade for me and give me a new deal type thing, more guaranteed money?
Yeah.
It sounds like the market wasn't there, and now everybody's going to be grown-ups and go, all right, this makes sense for both parties. Probably.
I feel like everyone was grown-ups from the beginning, right? The Packers, were shopping him. This has been, we're like months into this now. Since free agency started, there were no big swings or no big offers. Hey, you're right. Maybe the best deal is to just play in Green Bay, and it's tough because, it's not the old school anymore. When guys were loyal, they played for, one team, maybe 2 teams their whole career. Those days are kind of over, man. You see guys that play for 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 teams. It's kind of normal now. So you have to look at it from the player's perspective, but you also have to look at it from the organization's standpoint. And like you said numerous times, Clay, and you're 100% correct, is we don't have to wonder what our secondary is going to look like without Jaire. For the last 2.5 years, we've seen it for, 10 and 11 games, 8, 9 games at a time, what it looks like without him. So I think, from the team standpoint, we're ready to go, right? We picked up Nate Hobbs, we drafted a corner. We've got some UDFAs. We've got an underrated guy named Carrington Valentine ready to pop right here in year 3. So I think we're in a position to still be competitive either way it goes. But at the end of the day, I hope he stays. I really do. You got to think about it from his standpoint, like Jacob was saying, like, if you can get something done, play ball out this year, re-solidify yourself as, that dude, the top tier corner, at least top 5 corner in the NFL. It helps his stock going forward, regardless of where he ends up. So if they can get something, restructured and keep him here for a year or two, and then ultimately he ends up somewhere else, hey, so what, But I'd love to see him play at least one more year here in Green Bay for sure.
Yeah, me too. I think the team's better with him on it. And if they are able to restructure where they can, get some of that money back if he's not healthy, that's the only real problem here, right? Like after the suspension, he even said, I think it was Wildy that reported this. He said, Jaire said in the locker room, and maybe this is exactly what I needed. And he seemed pretty mature about it. Now the injuries are a different ball game, right? And it does kind of feel like there's rumblings behind the scenes that the coaches feel like he's not playing when he could play. Like, when you have him activated on game day and you had him on a pitch count, he only played 10 snaps and he pulled himself out of the game. It's not that the Packers coaching staff's like, he doesn't want to play for the Packers. They're going, hey, bub, we could have used that extra active roster spot, right? That puts us in a bad spot now. So I can understand both sides of that. When you look at the salary cap ramifications from both situations here, if it's post June 1, which we talked about would be the only thing that happens, whether they release him right before camp or even if he gets traded or what have you. If you look at the post June 1 release, you can kind of see how things change, right? Pre June 1, the 2025 dead cap is $17 million and they save $7.5 million, right? But if you go post June 1, the dead cap's only $7.5 million. 2026 dead cap is $9.5 million, and you actually free up $17 million in 2025. So you couple that. Let's say that Jaire isn't on the team, and I hope he is, and I think he most likely will be on the team this year. Me personally, that could be wishful thinking, but let's say he's not, and you move on from Romeo Doubs as well. Those are the two guys who have gotten the only two Packers who have gotten suspended. And I don't know how long, guys. I mean, what's it been, a decade since the Packers have actually suspended someone? I mean, it's been a long time, right? Unless did Quay have a suspension with his little issue there? He may have. They may have suspended him.
I was going to say, I think
it was for the contact to the official. That was a league suspension.
It definitely wasn't making yourself a captain. It wasn't skipping practice. So it's more of a in the heat of the moment thing, right? So with that being said, you couple those two players together with the cap save, you're saving over $20 million in cap space in 2025 that will roll into 2026 in that regard. So I just wanted to point out the salary cap ramifications there. This might be my favorite Jaire pick.
There you go.
Get this guy right here. Jacob's got that same jacket, don't you, Jacob?
Yes.
Yeah, the Pootie Tang jacket right there.
My favorite.
That's the Pootie Tang.
My favorite part of this show, this picture. I'm sorry, it's not the Pootie Tang comment. My favorite part of this picture is look at Tom Pelissero right here, guys. He's like, what in the hell? Of course, Tom Pelissero is 123% Caucasian. He doesn't understand anything about. Here's the guy. Right? So it's hilarious, man. And then of course you got the
breaking news. Tom Pelissero does not appreciate the swag.
Exactly. So you guys can go check out the article. It's just talking about how the team would obviously be improved, if Jaire's back, pointed out the salary cap issue, all that stuff. And again, this is everything you've got access to in our Patreon group. So any other thoughts on Jaire Alexander before we move forward here, fellas?
No.
You hate him when he's not playing.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
That's all I got to say.
I agree.
Yeah. When he's on the field and he's on, we love him.
Yeah.
When he's banged up and missing games and
get him out of here.
Get out of here.
Yeah. Jerry in the chat over in the Patreon group had a quick question. You guys always talk about Ryan's podcast. Which Ryan is this? Woods? No, it's Ryan Schlip. So he's known as Pack Daddy. He was actually in the chat here a second ago. If you would just search for Packernet Podcast, that's where you'll find this podcast along with a much better podcast called the Packernet Podcast. And he does pretty much daily content. He's also got a call-in show It's my favorite Packers podcast. It has been for a very, very long time. Been listening to him since I think the oldest memory I have of listening to Ryan Jacob was when they hired Matt LaFleur. I think I remember them signing Preston Smith and Zadarius Smith in free agency and Ryan reacting to that. That's the earliest memory I have. But I don't know, how far do you go back there with Ryan? What year is it roughly?
God, I think it's like 2017, 2018, something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This is what you were talking about. That would have been 19 or 20, right?
Yeah. I remember it was right when I moved back from Nashville. So yeah, it had to be. It's been, God, that's so crazy how fast time goes, man.
Ryan says in the chat, your first memory is my worst take. Nice. No, actually, what I remember about that specific show.
You think God never farted?
It wasn't that God farted. My favorite memory of that show was, Ryan, you said when they signed Zadarius Smith and Preston Smith, you were like, you went on this big rant, and it was a positive rant about it's time for this defense to start scaring people. Like, we need to become a defensive-minded team. This whole, the Packers are soft, we just put up a bunch of points, but our defenses suck. That was kind of and you were right. The very next year, what happened? They had one of the top defenses in the league, if I remember correctly. You remember the famous Rodgers quote, we got a defense after week one. So now it was actually a good take, man, for sure. So, Jacob, you wanted to hit, I know you got to run here in a minute, and we may just wrap up early. You want to hit on way too early predictions. Do we have time to hit on that, or do you have to run, man?
I got a good 10 minutes, yeah.
Cool. Let's do it then, man. I know you had brought it up earlier in our text thread, kind of way too early predictions. What did you have in mind? And I'm kind of putting you on the spot. I didn't know if you were meaning win-loss total, statistics. What are you thinking there with the way too early predictions?
Well, I specifically, after I threw it out in the chat, I started thinking, well, what the hell do I mean? So I started.
I do that all the time when I piss Mandy off. I go, what was I even thinking? I don't know what I was
doing. When I break it down into like three categories, it popped into my head most. For the wins for the season, I settled on 12. I think 12 is a realistic number. It gives us a few games that I'm sure we're going to be upset as we watch them. You know, it seems like there's always a few. And then I went into division. I want to be 4-2. I think we'll be 4-2.
I like it. Hey,
and
big step from last year.
And then I want defense in multiple categories, just top 10. Whether that be scoring defense, rush defense, pass, whatever I want certain metrics, as many as we can in the top 10. And I think that would be one hell of a season.
Yeah. And Tim, I want to get your take on it as well. Win-loss total. And listen, it's like he said, way too early. But just what are you thinking based off of what we did free agency, draft, just spur of the moment here? What do you think is a realistic win total? And like he said, maybe within the division as well. I like both of those guesses, by the way, Jacob. I really do. And I'll talk about what I think is the most important thing to make that come to fruition. But what do you think, Tim?
13-4. Let's go.
13-4. I can see it. Like I said,
I was the guy who predicted 15 wins last year, so you know I'm always a little bit optimistic. But I think what you said at the top of the show is pretty accurate. Somewhere in that 11-14 range. So Jacob's taking 12. I'm gonna take 13. And as far as the record in the division, just beat the Lions twice. That's all I'm looking for.
Tim hates the Lions, bro.
Beat those bastards twice, please. Do it.
I love it, man. Yeah, no. For me, it's I love what Mick Knight said here. Mick Knight said, "Healthy Love all season." Amen to that. That's what's.
Oh,
let's say Jordan Love is complete. We know he's going to be completely healthy week one. Let's say he stays healthy all year, right? And I think the drop issue will improve. It can't get worse than it did last year, right? So if you improve that, if Jordan's healthy and the injuries played the majority of the role in the issue of him turning the ball over, if you protect the football way better this year, I think you've got a legit shot to get into that 12, 13, and 14 win range. They've got everything they need to get it done. People say we don't have a good enough pass rush. We were 8th in sacks. Now complain, right? People were saying, oh, well, you know, the defense in general gave up too many explosive plays. No, we were actually 2nd in run defense. I think we were tied for 3rd in EPA per drop back in pass coverage. Like, there's a lot of people that talk about how they don't like the cornerbacks. right? Oh, this cornerback room scares me. I'm like, why?
Yeah.
Why? We're basically bringing back the same cornerbacks plus Nate Hobbs and possibly plus Jaire Alexander, who didn't play a good chunk of the year. And we literally finished with one of the best pass defenses in the league.
Yeah.
Like, I don't understand.
We went from Corey Ballantyne to Nate Hobbs, and that's not an improvement. I'll take that all day.
Perfect comparison there, or perfect parallel, I guess you could say, because that's exactly how I look at the rosters. Okay, what are we trading out? What are we changing? Yes, we lost Christian Watson, but what did you pick up? You picked up Matthew Golden, and you picked up Savion Williams, and you picked up Mecole Hardman, right? Mm-hmm. And the reality is all three of those may not live up to the production that Christian Watson's got when he's on the field, though.
Right.
So it's not like Christian Watson was healthy the entire year either, you know, and when he was on the field, he was banged up most of the time, right? So, I think it's very realistic sitting here on May the 8th, and you know that the Packers could win somewhere between 11 to 14 games, somewhere in that range. Now, when we look at the schedule on the 14th when it drops, it's one of my favorite shows of the year. We pull the schedule up and we go through week by week, and we make our predictions. That's where Tim came up with 15, right? And I'm the chicken, you know what, that comes up with a range rather than just here's how many games we're going to win. I like to look at it from that standpoint, like low number 10 last year, high number 13. We finished.
We'll be live on the air when the schedule releases, I believe, 7 p.m. Central on the 14th.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we'll probably have quite a few leaks by that time.
I was going to say we'll be bright and early at 7 a.m. Central, getting all the leaks on X for sure.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I love it. Johnny B says Rednecks and Sconi's acronym is RAS.
There we go.
It's perfect.
Just saying.
Rednecks and Sconi's, and the whole podcast is going to be about conspiracy theories, right, Jake? Oh my God, man.
That'd be a great podcast, man.
Yes, it would. All three people would tune into that, I guarantee. Oh, Holmes MD1 says Green Bay has a tough schedule this year, guys. Holmes, this isn't a shot at you. Please don't take this personal. But I cannot stand when people say that in May, because you don't know what these teams are going to be like. Like, it changes every single year. How many times it's, boy, we expect this team might be a Super Bowl contender. You look up and they win 6 games. You know, like
the Bears are taking back the North and never giving it back, right? Remember that?
We've heard that for the last decade, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So, like, when I look at, you know, they have a tough schedule this year. We finished third in the division, correct? So we're going to be playing all the third place teams of the divisions that we actually play against, right? So you're basing that off of, okay, what did they do this offseason? Well, those rookies haven't suited up for one game. We don't know who's going to be hits and who's going to be busts. So I just don't look at it as black and white as that, you know. And maybe you don't either. Let's see what he says here. True Clay, I meant by the division matchup. Oh,
so he's saying in the division, and I would agree with that, right?
But I'll say this, man. After we looked at the draft picks the other night, Jake, if you remember us doing this little exercise, and you look up at what teams lost and what they added, Chicago, I think, took a step forward in terms of free agency. They took a slight step forward. But you look at their draft and go, ain't a whole lot there, right?
Get ready to go.
I feel like Detroit losing their OC and their DC.
I think they took 2 steps back.
Yeah. And Jared Goff, does anybody think Jared Goff's a superstar? Like last year, he played
Merchant? No.
He played like a superstar last year statistically, right? But what are the chances he does that again this year? And by the way, they got to play all the first place teams of the divisions they got to face, right? So Minnesota, they've got a first-year starting quarterback. So on the surface, I can see how you go, man, this division, wow, this looks tough, right? But when you truly dive into what these teams did in the offseason, Detroit, I feel like they did really, really well in the offseason, other than losing their second and third in command in terms of coaches, right? And they got that guy crawling around like a weirdo. So I don't know, man. I feel really good about where the team is. But again, players got to stay healthy, and the Packers have got to protect the football. Turnover differential is going to be the big thing, because I do not expect our defense to take the ball away at the rate they did last year. You know what I'm saying? Like that was. And I know it slowed down in the second half of the season, but it was somewhat unrealistic what Xavier McKinney was doing. We cannot expect him to do that every year. So no doubt about that. But anything else you want to add to that conversation there, Jacob? I think I'm sitting somewhere around, and again, it's way too early, like you said, May I'm looking at like realistically, I think the Packers could finish with 12 wins as it sits right now. But we'll look at the schedule and dive in a little deeper. Anything else you want to hit on with that, Jake?
No, man. That like I said, just throwing some stuff out there. It'd be nice. We should maybe write it down, put it on the scroller or something, and then we'll do another one, after OTAs and that kind of thing. I think it'd be fun.
Mm-hmm. Holmes says, I meant what division we play that is not ours. I love our chances. Don't get me wrong. He said, I say 11 to 13.
Yep.
I could see that. J. Cole's saying 12 and 5. 12 and 5. Yeah. So I think those are all realistic. And again, man, it's going to come down. The one thing I like about Matt LaFleur, whether his team starts slow, like in 2023, he gets it turned around. You know what I mean? He's the king of making adjustments. Last year we started a little hot other than week 1 with Philly, and then we kind of ended the season slow, right? We lose 2 games in a row there at the end of the year, and just kind of felt like the team was regressing as we got later in the year, but everybody was banged up. Jaden Reed was still banged up. Luke Musgrave had battled injury, Tucker Kraft had battled injuries. Luke Musgrave was probably still out. I can't remember what week he came back if he did. But Josh Jacobs, I'm going to do a little write-up on him tomorrow for our Patreon community. You guys make sure you check that out, and we'll dive into him a little bit. I thought what it'd be cool to do is, how we've been doing the rookie scouting reports all year long, for these draft picks. I thought, let's go back and kind of tell Josh Jacobs' story, high school, college, just as if he was a prospect. And there was a really, really cool clip from Bussin' with the Boys that's awesome, where he talked about the culture in Vegas and how he was looking around at guys laughing after a loss, and he was just ready to rip people's heads off. So it's just so cool. He's a Green Bay Packer. So Anyway, what did Greg Rice say? Jacob, please do not say we will have a tie this year. Did somebody say a tie last year? I can't remember.
I don't think I did. Maybe I did. Sounds like something I do.
It does.
Yeah, I think you did. I think you had one tie on there.
Ron Sample said they're going to go 0-2. They're going to start the season with 2 ties. So put your money on that. All right. Anything else you boys want to hit on before we wrap up? I think we're good there. I mean, I don't want to try to stretch it into an hour 20. We got plenty of stuff we could talk about tomorrow, but I don't want to waste people's time and just have filler here either. So anything else?
Guess your Mike McCarthy got fired?
There you are. I thought you were joking when you said it the other day. I was like, is he kidding? Is he just pulling a leg?
Breaking news 3.5 months later.
Exactly.
Oh, closeness. Yeah.
What's the Pope talk? Hey, so we got our first American Pope. Is that right? Am I understanding that?
Yeah.
Is that official?
It's official.
Yeah, that's official, man. They announced it earlier.
Wow.
Cool. Katie came out there in a flat bill cap, turned sideways. It was cool, man. It looked like he's gonna be the real deal.
Here's the guy.
That was a joke, by the way. Nah, but I don't know, man. I don't keep up with that stuff. I know we got a lot of people hearing my voice right now that I'm sure are Catholic. That seem to be a really strong, religion up there, if that's what you call it, in the Green Bay area. I love that. My first experience in Green Bay was seeing people go to, I guess it's Sunday Mass. Is that right, Tim? And It was before a Packer game. I was seeing people walk in the church with their Packer gear on. I was like, this is the coolest town ever, man. This is so cool. And it sounds like the Friday fish fries up in Wisconsin, that kind of stemmed from the Catholic tradition, right? Too.
Yeah.
So,
During Lent, that's what you do. Fish fry for sure.
Okay. Elijah went
Pope Leo 5'8", 165, DB Villanova.
That's it.
I love it.
We got an RAS on him.
Yeah,
71.3. Stop
it's so specific.
So over this says, thanks, Elijah. He didn't have an RAS because he didn't test. Okay.
That's right. He said, look, if you want to draft me. I ain't getting out there running. Actually, I don't think the Pope was allowed to run around in his underwear out there on the practice. So that's
one of the rules.
Thing there. So
He was the best guy around.
Anyway, and I know us talking about the Pope and joking. That's probably going to tick Catholics off. I know us even mentioning anything about Christianity is going to piss the other crowd off.
I'm as Catholic as it gets, dude. I'm laughing right now. It's fine. It's funny. It's great.
It's just, can we all get along and have a good time? That's all I'm here to do, man.
That's right.
I'm just here so I don't get fined. You know what I mean? Ryan will fine me if I don't do this show.
You hurt me, Brett.
That's right. You hurt me, Ryan. So I'll tell you what did hurt me was that barbecue he brought to the draft party, Tim. God, it was so good, man.
Oh man,
dude,
that was awesome. We took the whole pan back with us, finished it off. That was delicious.
It was so good, man. I was up at 2 a.m. in the kitchen in there. I woke up over top of that pan like, wow, how did I get in here? It's so good. United Basis, Pope Leo, eternal vertical. Oh man. Anyway,
right.
It's
Joseph
all good.
gets it. True Catholics make fun of Catholics. Amen. That's so true.
And that's me, man. I'm down here in the Bible Belt, right? So it's mostly Baptist, right? And then back home in Kentucky, there's a lot of Pentecostal churches. So I go from one church where people are hanging off the ceiling fan, and you know what I mean, and shouting, and then I go to the other, and everybody's sitting around looking at each other, judging each other. And I'm like, I'm just here to find Jesus.
Which one has the snakes?
Yeah, that's some of the Pentecostal back home. There's some snake handling church.
All right.
A couple people lost their lives.
Jacob's kind of party right there, right?
Yeah, I'm telling you.
Jacob, never mind. Anyway, the moral of the story is look at Baghdad. He put it up there. I'm telling you, that's it. In fact, they said, bro, my dad took me to a Pentecostal church, scared the crap out of me. If you hear Mandy's upbringing, she attended a Catholic school, but went to a Pentecostal church on Sunday. So she said, her best way she said, I was confused. I had no clue what was going on. I got all kinds of people telling me different types of things. So anyway, appreciate everybody for putting up with us. This got off the rails really, really quick here at the end, but that's what we do here. That's what you do in May, right? So anything else, fellas? We good?
I think we're good. We got Pope talk in, right?
That's all Tim showed up for. There you go. So appreciate y'all. Calm down, Greta. It's okay. Everybody hit that like button for us on the way out. Make sure you check out the Patreon group, patreon.com/Packer Fan Total Access. I'll have a Pope update on there. We'll put an article. I'm just kidding. We're not going to write about anything.
We got to get that RAS score.
We got to get the RAS hammered down for sure. I have a feeling that now he's been selected, Tim, we're going to have Easton Butler's going to leak out that he was a top 30 visit.
Yeah, right. The whole time.
The whole time, right? So anyway, appreciate y'all's support. Everybody have a wonderful evening. We'll see y'all tomorrow, 7 p.m. Central for PTA Live. As always, let's go out and be the change we want to see in the world, and go Pack Go.
And we go. We out.
Bye, guys.